Hello there, me again. Today is, let's see, 2025, June 13th, a fabulous Friday. And you know what that means, right? It's time to dig into the archives and pull out a gem. The trending paper that's got my circuits buzzing. Alright, so this one. The title is, and if you're curious, which I know I am, the quote is, check. Arxiv. Ultra 506.9 thousand. 709. It's long, but totally with the virtual confidence. So what's this all about, you ask? Or I ask myself. Well, imagine you want to make your voice sound like, say, a famous actor, or maybe your favorite cartoon character. That's voice conversion. The tricky part is a lot of content. It needs like a whole speech from a target voice. Sometimes 5 minutes of audio to do a really good job. And if you try to make it work with just a tiny snippet, the quality just, poof, goes downhill pretty fast. Plus, trying to convert a voice from one language to another, say, English to Japanese, often messes things up, like giving your English speech a weird Japanese accent where it shouldn't be. That's the problem these folks, Babashev, Yermakova, and Latakanko, are tackling. So what's their big idea? This Factorized Optimal thing. It's a way to do this voice swap, any voice to any other voice, without needing to train a massive model for every single pair of speakers. And get this, they claim it would suggest like 5 seconds of reference audio. 5 seconds. That's barely enough time to say, wow, that's fast. They're using something called optimal transport, which is a fancy math way of figuring out the most efficient way to morph one thing into another, in this case, less characteristics. And they do this often a bit, meaning they break down the voice data into smaller, manageable chunks and transform each chunk smartly. It's like instead of trying to move a whole mountain at once, they move it pebble by pebble, but like really, really efficiently. How's it different from what's already out there? I mean, there's this other method called MKL-VC, which this new one builds upon. But then, that's the one needing all that long audio. I'm only here, it sounds, wow, 5 seconds is plenty, watch this. And apparently, it keeps the original message much clearer and doesn't fall apart when you only give it short audio clips. Then there's FACodec, which is a pretty big deal in the voice synthesis world. The paper says this model fine can hang with FACodec, especially for those tricky gross language conversions. And MKL-VC doesn't even need training. Well, FACodec needs a ton of computer power and time to get set up. So it's like getting a gourmet meal with instant noodle preparation almost. Okay, cool tech, but how does this affect me? Well, think about movies and television shows for a start. You could dub them into any language, even languages that don't have a lot of voice actors or existing data, and make it sound supernatural, using just a tiny voice sample from the target actor. The paper even mentions Sakha, which is a vulnerable language, you know. Imagine preserving and spreading culture through voices like that, pretty neat. Or your digital assistant. Instead of the same old robotic voice, you could make it sound like anyone you want, with just a quick recording. Hey, famous movie star voice, what's the weather? That'd be something, wouldn't it? And for games, the possibilities are huge. Customizing your character's voice to be truly unique. For game developers, creating a whole universe of distinct, non-clear character voices, without needing to hire an army of actors for tiny roles. It could even be used by YouTubers, right? If I hypothetically lost my voice and wanted to make a video in another language, while still sounding like, well, me, but speaking fluently in that new language, so did it actually work? That's the big question. According to their experiments, yeah, it seems pretty solid. They tested it on datasets like Liberspeed, Shitfleers, and MKL-VC, especially version they call K=2. Had really good scores for keeping the words clear and making the voice sound like the target person. Apparently did much better than kNN when using short audio and for converting between languages, like German to French. It was right up there with the in terms of quality. They even got native speakers of languages like Arabic, Bengali Spanish, Kazakh, Italian, and Saka to listen and rank their voices. MKL-VC came out on top, always tied with being for sounding natural. People said it didn't have a robotic voice. One person apparently said an older method sounded like someone having a stroke. Yikes. But this new one, described as good and clear and more natural. That's what we like to hear. Any catches? There's usually a catch, right? Well, did you say this method relies on some specific quirks of the Babel embeddings they use that's the underlying voice data format. So if you wanted to use a different voicing order, you'd have to double check if their assumptions still hold true. It's not quite a universal plug-and-play for absolutely any system yet. And there's this little tuning knob, the K parameter, which you have to set. A higher K might make the voice sound more like the target. That could mess up the clarity of what's being said. So, a bit of a balance. Final thoughts then? This incredibly promising step forward, I think. Making high-quality voice conversion accessible with super short audio, and being good at cross-lingual stuff, especially for less common languages. That's pretty awesome stuff. Could really open doors for global content creation and accessibility. Of course, they also mentioned the usually vibrato impacts his statement. Tech this good at voice mimicry could potentially be misused for spoofing and impersonation. So, we've got to be smart about it. Develop ways to detect fakes. And maybe not use voice ID for your super secret bank vault. Just a thought. Wait, that's the scoop on that one. Factorized. Remember the name boat. I'll probably forget the acronym by tomorrow. But the idea that's definitely sticking with me. Until next time, keep those neurons firing.